So I thought, well, I'll take him out and see if he can still run rabbits. Well, I in the morning got him out back of the barn when all at once he struck a rabbit and off he run, lickety-split. Why, he'd run on two legs till he got tired. Then he'd flip over and run on the other two legs. Why, he was twice as good a rabbit dog after that. He could chase rabbits a-going and coming and bark at both ends. I'd like to tell you a little story about a little pet rabbit I used to have. Now, he was a very nice little rabbit, and I called him the Big-Eyed Rabbit. That was the only name he had. He was a lot of fun and very gentle little rabbit, except when dogs were around. Any time a dog came around, that little rabbit was the meanest and the fiercest creature you've ever seen. Why, he'd beaten up every dog in the community. They were all cut up and black and blue from where that rabbit had chewed 'em up. And if a dog just was stupid enough to come in our yard, that little rabbit would jump on him and nip his ears and tail until he was finally out of sight over the hill. That little rabbit was so bad beating up dogs that finally I had to put a little sign up down by the bridge that said, "Beware of Rabbit." Well, one day, this old gentleman drove up into our yard in a pickup truck with 3 old dogs in the back of that truck. So I went out there and I said, "Sir, you better keep those dogs in that truck. You see, we've got a rabbit in our yard." And he just laughed. "They won't hurt my dogs." And I said, "But this is a mean rabbit." And he said, Well, we went in the house and began to talk, and we hadn't been in there more than 2 minutes when all at once we heard the awfullest barking and howling and yelping, and we ran outside, and don't you know, those dogs had gotten out of that truck, and my rabbit was attacking them and chasing them up the hill. Well, we grabbed a hoe and we ran up the mountain behind them, and when we caught up with them, that rabbit had all 3 of those dogs treed up in a big oak tree and was gnawing the tree down. Well, we was finally able to get the little old rabbit loose from the tree, and I stuck him in my coat and took him back to the house and locked him up in the hog pen. Well, a few minutes later, that gentleman came down the hill with his 3 old dogs a-limping and a-whining and a-moaning and all cut up, and he got 'em in the back of the truck as best he could. And I said, "Well, I'm sorry my rabbit ate your dogs up so bad, but I told you I had a rabbit in the yard." And the old fellow said, "Yes, I know." And I said, "Well, by the way, what kind of dogs are those anyway?" And he said, "They're rabbit dogs."